Alright, so the activity I wanted to do with you was making a newsletter. It's a pretty useful skill. And I looked online at a few newsletters and I found this one and I thought it looked very professional. So I thought we would try and duplicate it. Your assignment is to create a newsletter for the fictional Foot Clan organization. So, you know, this newsletter is very well done. It's got a lot of graphics. It's pretty to look at. It's got the name of the organization in really big letters up here. And then there's a nice little background behind it with these diagonal lines here that give it texture and depth. And it's also got what we call a color gradient. And if you don't know, a color gradient is when something is not one solid color. Do you see how it's dark green up here? And it gets a little bit lighter and a little bit lighter and a little bit lighter and a little bit lighter until over here it's very light. Sometimes a color gradient looks better than just a solid color. So today we're going to try and put a color gradient in our little graphic at the top. And then there's a few things that are probably on every newsletter that they send out. This is just information about the organization. There's a stripe here, a little title bar, and then it says Fall 2013. It tells you what the, you know, which edition this newsletter is. And then as you can see, there's some little articles here that have nice big bold headings. And there's some dude's picture. He's probably important in this organization. Little title bar that says something about him. Then there's a little table of contents here that tells you what's inside and which page number you need to flip to find it. And then there's another little article at the bottom here. Now you'll notice that these articles are broken up into columns, the same way our Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle pamphlet was. But the columns don't run together. You see how you see this line here in between the columns? It's different than the line here in between the columns here. So these are two different sections. We're going to try and make our newsletter look as close to this as possible. So when you log into Google Classroom, your assignment is going to be here. And here are all of the criteria that your newsletter needs to meet. So click on the Foot newsletter. Click. And it's going to take you to something that looks like this. I don't really feel like I need to test your typing, so all of the text is here. Now, if you want to erase all this stuff and write your own articles, if you want to get creative, that's totally fine. But if you want to use the articles that I wrote, you can do that too. The first thing that we need to do, let's go back and look at our directions. The newsletter should be at least one full page. You can use the articles I wrote. The newsletter must have a large graphic at the top with the word foot superimposed on top of a background consisting of a color gradient and diagonal stripes. Along the bottom of the graphic should be a gray title bar that says Summer 2017 or something similar. There should be a little description in the upper right hand corner of the graphic. Okay, so that's probably, honestly, the first part is probably the most challenging. So let's put our cursor right here at the very beginning. And let's insert, if we already had the graphic made, we would go to Insert Image. That's for images that are already done. But we need to create our object. So let's insert Drawing. Alright, so let's go back and look at this newsletter. You know, this is just a big rectangle with some text on the top and some stripes. So I like purple. Oh, sorry, let's go up to shapes and choose the rectangle tool and then draw something that looks I'm not sure what happened there. Shapes, rectangle, okay, there we go. And I don't want any lines. You see how this is a blue box with a really dark gray outline? Sometimes it looks better if there's no outline. So I'm going to go to the border color and choose transparent. And then I like purple. So I'm going to go to the fill color. And remember I said I wanted a color gradient. So click on gradient. And you can choose any one of these gradients. I'm going to choose purple. Now, how do we get some texture on here? How do we get these little stripy lines? Well, we could draw them, but oh my gosh, that would be so much work. So I've included for you a little stripy stripes link. And all you need to do is go down here to stripy stripes, hopefully, and click on that. And then right click. Remember, if you're on a Chromebook, that's a 2-finger tap. And then go to copy image address. Then go back to your newsletter. And you're going to insert an image by URL. Remember, you just copied that image address and paste. Uh-oh, that's not good. Why are you giving me a hard time? Get shareable link. Link sharing on. Copy the link. Go to image, URL. Okay, I don't know why that didn't work before. I'm sorry about that. I'll make sure I post this link on the assignment just so that you definitely know that you'll have it. But it should end with view USP sharing. And then click select. What that's going to do is it's going to paste all those stripes right here. And I made these stripes so that wherever you put them, the background would show through. So all you got to do now is... Ooh, that looks terrible. Okay, don't blow them up too big. Oh man, that looks really ugly. And I'm not sure why that looks so ugly. I suspect it's because when Google stores files, it compresses them, and that makes them look kind of ugly sometimes. One thing I can do is I can upload the original image from my computer. And hopefully yeah, I can already tell that looks better. So if you care, you can ask me for the original image. I can give it to you on a for the original Stripes image, and I can give it to you on a USB flash drive. If you don't care, then just use the one that's on Google Classroom. But anyways, there we go. There's our Stripes. And let's go back and take a look at our newsletter. We've got our Stripes. Let's put the foot in big letters here, and then let's put a little some sort of little message right here. Now you'll see that this overlaps. I can get rid of that by just using the crop image tool. I'm going to grab this handle and pull it up. And then for this, I'm going to grab that handle. Uh-oh, where's my crop tool? Oh, I don't need a crop tool because it's a shape. That's why. I can just bring it into here. And that's starting to look pretty good. Let's go ahead and remember I said I wanted a little rectangle here, a little band here. So I'm going to throw that in here. I'm going to grab another rectangle. Now, once again, this is something that's much easier to do in Word, and it's a pain to try and do in Google Docs. I don't want a border on this, so I just went up to border and I went to transparent. Then I want this band, well, first of all, I want it to be gray, so I'm going to choose a nice gray color there. And then I don't like how it's not touching, so I'm going to left click on this gray band, and I'm just going to use my arrow keys. I'm going to press up. There we go. That looks a lot better. Although, you know what? Those stripes are giving me kind of an optical illusion. All of a sudden, the rectangles don't look rectangular anymore, but that's just an illusion. Alright, I'm going to put some text on here. Let's go with foot. And play with it, make it look nice. Should have a white font probably. The letters are going to be really large. Find a font that you like. Merriweather. Ooh, I don't like that. I don't like, for this, I don't want like serify fonts. I don't know. Just find something that you like. It's still not big enough. If you want something to be bigger and it's not giving you that option here in the drop-down box, you can just type it in. And I'm going to type in 120. I'm going to hit enter. Whoa, now it's really big. You can drag this or you can use the arrow keys. still don't like that font though. It's not thick enough. Oh, that's not bad. I'm going to go with Roboto. What else do I need? I said I wanted a little box down here that said summer 2017. Could you put winter if you wanted to? Sure, I don't care about that. And let's highlight this and change the font color to, or the text color to white. And you know what? Sometimes it looks good when you're doing different text boxes like this. Sometimes it looks good if the fonts are all the same color. Sometimes it looks better if they're different colors. Sometimes it looks good if they're the same font. Sometimes it looks better if they're different fonts. Alright, I'm going to go with that. I'm using my arrow keys to position this in a place where it looks good. And now I said I wanted to have a little, I don't know, some kind of text box up here in the corner. So I'm going to make another text box. Actually, you know what? Instead of doing a text box, I'm going to delete that. I think these stripes are going to get in the way. Let's try it. A very good newsletter. Yeah, see, that doesn't look very good. This needs a little space of its own. So I'm going to delete this. And I'm going to use a shape again. With a purple fill. Use a solid fill this time. No outline. And you can type on a shape by just left clicking on it and then typing. And that text is way too big. I'm going to bring it down a little bit. Let's try 10. Let's try 12. And probably 10. Make it look good, like always. Alright, not bad. I don't know, I think we're done, folks. I think we're done with our top graphic. So if you're done, you click Save and Close. And there you go. Looks pretty cool, huh? Now let's go ahead and do something with this. This is our first article. All we should have to do here is go to Format, Columns, and click 2 columns. However, if you look up here, this headline doesn't squeeze into a column. This headline goes across both columns. So let's undo that. And let's format our headline. Let's make it a little bigger. Maybe change the font. Now let's just select the text that we want in columns and go to Format, Columns, and this should result in a big headline and 2 columns of story. Boom, there you go. Now one thing, you'll notice that on the left, this is all lined up nice and pretty, but on the right, it's all jagged. Some people that does not bother, but some people it does bother. So one of the options is to go up here to our alignment buttons, and let's go and find the justify option. What that's going to do is it's going to line everything up on the left and on the right. Just like that. Do you think that looks better? Some people do. Now, I tried to figure out a way to put this picture in here with this little ribbon, but in Google Docs it's not very easy to do. In Word it would be a lot easier. We're going to skip that part. We're going to go straight to... I'm going to put in a horizontal line here. So insert, horizontal line. There you go. It's starting to look like a newsletter. I think the space here in between the columns is a little bit much. So I'm gonna try and I'm gonna come up here to the ruler, and it's got some things you can click and drag and make things look a little different. Alright, cool. Alright, let's go ahead and... Now what I see when I look at this is I basically see 3 columns. There's a column here. There's a column here. There's a column here with the headline spanning all the way across these 2 columns, right? How would we recreate that here? Let's go ahead and create 3 columns. Format columns 3. And I don't want this in here. What I want is an image. Do you remember how to push everything from column 1 into column 2? Give yourself a hand if you said insert page column break. Sorry, column break. Column break. Not page break. Except that overwrote my horizontal line. I don't like that at all. I don't like that at all. Aha. Alright. Let's go ahead and insert a drawing. And I'm just going to make this a little rectangle with some, it says inside, and it's got a dashed line, and it's got some feature articles and some regulars, and then it's got page numbers on the right. So give me a shape. Something that looks like this. I'm going to turn the border color to transparent. Fill color, I don't know, I kind of want to stay with purple. And then how do we get it to say inside? Well, you could just click on the shape and start typing, and it would put text on there, but we want a little more control over where that text actually goes. So we're going to put a text box on top of there this time. And we'll write inside. As always, choose a font that looks good. And then for this line right here, we might not get it to look exactly like that, but you can use the line tool to draw a little line. And it drew a solid line, but we don't want a solid line, do we? We want a little dashed line. There's a couple little dashed lines here you can use. Try that one. Looks pretty good. And then features. Let's use another text box. Actually, okay, so you've got the names of the articles and then you've got the page numbers. Now you could try to be clever and put all this stuff inside one text box, but I think I'd rather have two text boxes. So I'll put the features. I think we're going to run out of room if we use a font that big. So let me shrink this down from 14 to 10. Let's try 10. Features, Foot Clan, training. Training the bad guys of tomorrow. Off the clock. How one Foot Clan soldier is terrorizing innocents just for fun. Because that's what bad guys like to do, right? Looking sharp. What are some things, what are some articles that evil ninjas would want to read about? Looking sharp. This season's latest weapons. And then the regular features. Regulars. Treasure's Corner. Birthdays. And of course, upcoming terror plots. Alright, we actually ended up running out of room there, didn't we? One thing we can do is make the box a little wider, and you see how some of that stuff jumps out there? Cool. Now I don't like how this is all clumped up here. There's a couple things you can do. One of the things you can do is you can highlight some text. And you can, well, shoot, you know what? That is not an option in this drawing tool. So I guess the best way to do it would be to click at the end of your story and then hit enter. Now we're putting a space in here. But what we can do is we can use the font size to make it a very small space. And that gives us just a little bit of breathing room. Enter, 4, enter, enter, 4, enter, enter, 4, enter. I don't know, those almost look too big, but what are you going to do? And then I need to put my page numbers in, right? Give me another text box. This is going to look best if you use the same font and font size that you used earlier. Okay. So I don't know, say it starts on page 2. It starts on page 3. These are not lining up. Why? Because we have all those little spaces in between our stuff. It's thrown off the alignment. Looking sharp. I don't know. Maybe that's on page 8. Shredder's Corner. I don't know. Page 4. Birthdays, page 5. Terror plots on page 6. Did we use the same font size? 10? Yep. Yep. All the font sizes are the same. It's just because of that spacing. What we can do is we can hit enter, and then we can change this to a 4. Just like we did on the other side, and look, that lines up much better. You just have to do it a lot. Oops, enter, enter. 4. There. If you want to keep going until it's perfect, go for it. But that's good enough for me. Alright, save and close. Save and close. Uh-oh, it went to the next page. Why did it do that? I don't know. See if you can get it back up there. Now one thing we want to do is we want to choose wrap text. Otherwise it's always going to try and be on its own thing. Just keep playing with it until you get it right where you want it. Now, if I want to use the same font and font size and all of the properties that give text its unique look, if I want to make this look just like that, what I can do is I can use the Format Painter. Highlight this, and then use Format Painter and highlight the thing you want to paint. And it'll make this look exactly like that. Although I might want to take it down just a little bit in size because I'm running out of room. And then let's take this. Remember, we want these two columns here. Let's take this and go to Format and then Columns 2. Actually, you know what? Let's undo that. I want to put an infographic over here. I want to put an infographic over here, so let's go ahead and insert another picture, or a drawing, excuse me. And I want to make a little, kind of like if you were looking in a magazine, you would see, I don't know, there's little, sometimes they take information and they just try to make it look cool by putting it in a little chart or something. I want a little box, and let me find a different kind of box this time. Kind of like these kind of boxes. And let's give it a black border and kind of a light gray inside. Now what I want is for this to be kind of like a list, like a bulleted list, like point number 1, point number 2, point number 3, point number 4, point number 5. But I don't want just boring old bullets. So let's see if we can't, let's go to Insert Image, and then let's search for Ninja Star. Now what we want is a Ninja Star with a transparent background. Does this have a transparent background? I'm not sure. Only one way to find out. Okay, it does have a transparent background. Cool. So let's make this really small. These will be our little bullet points. And then what you can do is if you hold down the Control key and left click your image and then drag your image, it's going to make a copy for you. You don't have to Control C or Control V or anything. Just hold down Control, left click, drag. Hold down Control, left click, drag. You get a whole bunch of different ones. Now we're going to use our text box to keep our text contained. And then let's come up with some tips. So this article is about Know Your Foe, 5 things you should know about the turtles. If you were giving advice to evil ninjas on how to beat the turtles, what would you say? Now one thing you could do, you could type all of them in one text box, but it might be easier actually to have multiple text boxes. I'm using Control, left click and drag again to make copies of things. Alright, this is getting a little big. I think I'm going to reduce my font size to 12 at least. Can I use Format Painter here? I don't know. Let's try it. Nope, I don't see Format Painter here. You're on your own. Control, click, drag. Make sure everything lines up on this left side. Now I could stop there, but I'm going to keep going, just because there's some challenges with trying to fit lots of text into a small space. So let's see what happens. Handguns don't work on the turtles. Do rockets, grenades, and stuff like that? I don't know. But something has to hurt them, right? No periods. I'm not putting periods. Alright. Now just make sure everything lines up. Uh-oh, this guy doesn't have a ninja star. What can I do? Control, click, and drag, right? Control, click, drag. Yeah, not bad. Boy, one thing that bothers me though is this line is not straight. I wonder if there's a way to fix that. I'm going to select all of these here, and I'm going to go to Actions, and I'm going to go to Align Horizontally Left. And that lines everything up on the left side. Cool. I don't like how there's more space at the bottom than there is at the top, so I'm going to click, I'm going to hold Control, and click, 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 click. I'm still holding Control. Click, click. That allows me to select everything together, and I can use my down arrow key to just move it down a little bit. And as soon as I think it's where I want, I can click off so I can see it. Yeah, that looks pretty good. All right, save and close. That's too big, it won't fit, so it's pushing everything onto the next page. Let's go to wrap text. And let's move this around until it looks good. How do I get this to line up on the right? How do I get this to line up right here? Justify, right? And it's not really a column. And there you go. That's pretty darn close. I think that's as close as we're going to make it. Did we check off all of our objectives on our assignment? Google Classroom. All right. The newsletter must have a large graphic at the top with the word foot. Let's take a look at this thing here. Alright, the newsletter must have a large graphic at the top with the word foot superimposed on it, on a background consisting of a color gradient and diagonal stripes. Along the bottom of the graphic should be a gray title bar that says Summer 2017 or something similar. There should be a little description in the upper right hand corner of the graphic. The first article should be spread across 2 columns. Is it? Yes. The headlines of the article should be big and bold and catch a person's eye. Yeah, that's pretty big and bold. This one here and this one here. Under the first article, put a horizontal line. Check. The area beneath the horizontal line should have a table of contents on the left. Do we have that? Yep. A short article in the center and an infographic on the right with images. So you don't have to do it exactly the way that I did it. You can put your own creative spin on it, but this is basically what needs to get done. All right, thank you for your patience. Good luck.